Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nהיה b'dvaro. L'chaim, everybody. L'chaim. L'chaim v'bracha. Oh, K'tavach Shavua Tov. Welcome to everybody, one and all. A new week, new life. So we are on the final frontier. This is it. Mashiach is coming. And we're on the final frontier to bring the final redemption. Redemption that will be in such a manner that we will look back at the crazy times, the dark times, and we will realize that all the pain and the suffering individually, collectively that we've gone through, the blessing in it, even though now we feel the pain. It'll be, the presence of Hashem will be very palpable and real. So to prepare for that, we need to make it real as much as we can now. So there are many things, of course, that will bring us over the threshold, right? And it's hard to say what is the thing that will do it, right? But let me ask you, what do you think the thing would be?
One thing we know, from darkness comes light.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You could live in darkness for a long time, right? You know, Hamas is living in dark tunnels, and some of them are buried there. Some of them are buried alive there in dark tunnels, and they're going to remain there in the dark. They're never going to see the light of day. God willing, the hostages will, but being in the dark doesn't necessarily mean you're going to come see the light. You have to want to and choose the light, right? Then what you're correct, David, what you said is correct, that the appreciation of the light coming from darkness will be so much greater. I think that's what you meant to say, right? And you're 100% correct in that. 100%. But my question is, I want to stick to the question and to the answer to my question. What is it that's going to bring us from that threshold of darkness to that threshold of light? Is there a particular thing that you would think would be the thing? Kim. Ooh, unity. Okay. Good. Anybody else? Helen? Right. So you're saying one mitzvah, any mitzvah you want to say. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Yes. Go ahead.
Tshuva.
Tshuva. Excellent. Me? Prayer. Okay. Wonderful. So just to bring out, the Arizal says that in our time, prayer is the mitzvah. You said tshuva. There's no as it says, if we do tshuva, then we will be redeemed. So you're both correct. The darkness, the light that will come from the darkness, absolutely. Mitzvah, the Rambam says that we have to see the world completely balanced.
No
And one
no,
mitzvah.
no lashon hara.
Lashon hara. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Michael. That so that one mitzvah will tilt the scale, whatever that mitzvah is, as Helen said, or as Michael said, lashon hara. Yes, very good, because lashon hara does such great damage, and as Kim said, unity. Okay, right? Exactly. All right. So, yeah. All right. So let's go to our Parsha and maybe get a glimpse of something that'd be interesting. By the way, you're all right. You're all right. But that being said, Some might be more right than others. L'chaim, l'chaim. And let's go see. In this week's Parsha, the very last mitzvah in the entire Torah, there's 613 mitzvahs. The second last mitzvah is Hakel. Last year we had the year of Hakel. We finished the end of last year, right? And the very last mitzvah is to write your own personal Torah. Interesting. Your own personal Torah is the last mitzvah. Okay. You got that here. Do I have that right over here, Hamid? Is that good? It's not yeah, it's good. We're good to go. All right, so let's go. So let's go to the text of this week, for this week's Parsha. And now, write for yourselves this song and teach it to your children, to the children of Israel. Place it in their mouths in order that this song will be for me as a witness for the children of Israel. So it says a song. Tradition tells us that the word means the entire Torah, as the Torah is described as a song.
Shira.
Yeah. Oops. Here, text number 2. Rabbi Levi ben Gershon, the Rambam says it is clear that the song here means the entire Torah, as the verse states just below. And it was when Moshe finished writing the words of the Torah in a scroll until their very completion. This indicates that this song includes the entire Torah with the song of Azinu as well. Right? Because in the following parsha, there's the song of Azinu. Further indication is that the entire Torah is the verse, take this Torah scroll and place it alongside the Ark of the Covenant of God. The Rambam counts this as one of the 613 mitzvahs, as we said, to write a personal Sefer Torah. And we're all responsible to write a Sefer Torah. Rambam, God commanded that everyone should write a Torah scroll for himself. And if they write it with their hand, Scripture credits it to them as if they received it at Mount Sinai. In other words, you write it yourself, right? Then it's as if you got it at Mount Sinai. But if it's impossible for them to write it, they should buy it or hire someone to write it for them. This is the meaning of the verse. Write for yourselves this song. So the Rambam is qualifying. Write it for yourself, this song. So you might, the simple meaning would be, well, write it yourself, right? But what does Rambam say? Write it for yourself. In other words, that it should be for yourself. Whether you write it yourself or someone else writes it for you. Is that clear? Or you hire someone. Exactly. Are we 5 yet? No, this is not a Rashi. It's a Rambam. So do you have what would seem, to me at least, an obvious question? What's the obvious question based on what we just learned here? Not Rashi's question. Because it's not well, maybe it could be Rashi. No, it's not really Rashi's question. Wouldn't be Rashi's question.
We need to write a Torah.
Huh?
We need to write a Torah, and if we can't, we hire someone, or we.
So I'm at, what's the question then?
Question.
Well, how come your father didn't do that? How come I haven't done it? How come nobody, very few people have done it? Very few people hire someone to write a Torah for them, right? What? No. What's the question? What's the obvious question? Here's the last mitzvah of the Torah that we need to fulfill. It says, Kisvu lachem, it says Shira Azois. You have to write this Torah. Again, that's the question. Right? That's exactly the question, right? This is clearly saying, Rambam is clearly telling us the halacha is that you have to write for yourself a Torah, right? And our ark is full with Torahs, but it's only maybe 10 of them, not 100 of them or 1,000 of them, right? We don't see people writing for themselves, let alone commissioning. So at least commission the Torah, right? And might say, well, maybe people are not so careful. Well, there are scrupulous people in mitzvahs that do mitzvahs and they do them behider in a beautifying way, and yet this mitzvah seems to be forgotten, neglected. That's not an answer to our question, right? That's not an answer to our question, right? So the Shulchan Aruch, quoting Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law, quoting the Rosh, says that if you purchase Torah Svarim books, what Hashgacha Pratis? We got all these books lying around here. That was not planned. What was planned was chaos. All these Svarim over here. That's why I called you to come here earlier, Hamid, so you can help me with the chaos over here of all these books that need to be put away, right? But what divine providence? Here it is, the books in front of us. If you purchase Torah books, right? The Rosh says you will fulfill the commandment. So if you purchase a Rambam, if you the Mishnah, the Gemara, whatever it is, of the oral tradition, right? You fulfill the commandment. So back in the day, what did they have that was written? The 5 books of Moses, right? Everything else was oral, right? Now the oral tradition is written down. So to fulfill the mitzvah, you don't need merely the written word to own it, but if you have the oral tradition that's explaining it, dayenu sufficient. Is that clear? So according to this, really what the Torah is telling us, you need the book so you could study. Not to have, right? Is it to have the book for the sake of the book? Have the book so you can learn from. Oh, so that we all have. That makes sense? Clear? But that's the Rosh. The Beis Yosef says not precisely. The Torah is telling us, write for yourself this, right? To have it, so you need to have it. This is wonderful that you have these other books, but that's an addition. It doesn't absolve you of the command to have your own Torah scroll. So then, according to this opinion, which is the Beis Yosef, the Yosef Cairo, the Shulchan Aruch, then we need to understand, why isn't it being done? Not only not being done today, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, right? Throughout history. Now, it is costly. We get that. But that doesn't answer the question, right? It doesn't answer the question. You still need to understand why this mitzvah wasn't sought after. And even if it's costly, okay, but there are people who can afford it. We don't see people running to do this. The last mitzvah on the final frontier to bring the final redemption. How come? Even the Jews in the desert, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, what is this telling us over here, this verse? What is the verse saying? Moshe is telling, write for yourselves. What happened? So he wrote for himself. That's it. Well, how about everybody else? Even originally, when the mitzvah was given, even then, it wasn't as such. Moshe wrote this song on that day and he taught it to the children of Israel. That's what the verse says. So again, this begs the question, why? Why is it? Moshe writes it for himself, for everybody. How's that? What's going on over here? How do we understand this? Right? We all seemingly have the obligation. So the answer, as we will eventually see, lies in the idea of a communal Torah scroll that's housed in your local Chabad house or any synagogue. Let's see what that means. There is obligation when you have a community that comes together that you have as part of a community. You're an individual, doesn't mean you have merely individual rights and do as you please within a community. You're part of a community. Being part of the community, by the way, does not mean you buy into the community. The fact you live there, you're part of the community, right? By definition, right? So, for example, if you're living in a community, just when it comes to tzedakah, so there are different types of tzedakah that are collected for the poor. If you're living in the community, 30 days or more, then there's certain kind of charity that you must give to, right? You just moves in, you just there 30 days. Now, what defines a community? Because community means in the community that where they're collecting funds for that community. Today it's a little more difficult what that means a community, but like back in the, you lived in a shtetl, you moved into that shtetl, you're part of that community. When they collected money, if you live there for 30 days, you already have to give to, if you live there, I forget how many more days it is that you have to give to even more communal funds. So that's for charity, but there's other responsibilities we have when it comes being part of a community, right? So here is the Shulchan Aruch says the town's inhabitants can compel one another to build a synagogue, to purchase a Torah scroll, along with other scriptures, so that anyone from the community can come and read from it. Interesting. Right, so you can compel. You have to be part of building a synagogue. If you're already going to another synagogue, right? But let's say there's no synagogue in the community, then they can be compelled. You have to participate. Let's say there's no Torah scroll, can be compelled to participate, right? So, interesting idea over here. What comes out is each member of the community discharges their personal obligation with a communal Torah scroll. That's what comes out as a result of this. In other words, there's a community Torah scroll, but through that, I personally discharge my responsibility of having my personal Torah scroll. Let's see. So I would suggest that when the community or any other group commissions a Torah scroll to be written on their behalf, that constitutes fulfilling the mitzvah of Kisu lachem es asher hazois, and now write for yourselves the Torah. Writing the scroll and then reading from it is a legitimate form of carrying out this mitzvah. This is the clear solution in my mind to justify the long-standing tradition. By commissioning a scroll for the community, they fulfill the mitzvah. Is that clear? Yeah? You have any questions about this?
I do.
Go ahead. Ask.
Well, in order to get these books, you have to get these books, right? To study? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what we're saying right now.
Okay.
We explained by the Rosh that if you bought books, so then you fulfill the commandment, right? but not all opinions are in adherence with that. Some opinions say that you have to have a Torah scroll, right? Well, we don't. Well, if the community is writing a Torah scroll on behalf of the community, so then you fulfill your personal obligation to have a Torah scroll. That's what we just said. Okay. So it's the Torah scroll that's in the synagogue, right? That is written on behalf of the community that fulfills your personal obligation. Because remember, the Torah said 613 commandment was not that the congregation should write a Torah. Kisvu lachem means write for yourself. How am I writing for myself? Well, because the congregation is doing it on behalf of its congregants or for those in the community better, right? In that manner, you fulfill your personal obligation. That's what we're saying, right? Is that clear?
A little bit, yes. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, great. So, okay, we hear the words. What's the mechanics over here? It says kis v'lachem, right, for yourself. Plural you, though.
You, but not just you by yourself, it can mean you use.
Right, good, very good. Okay, yeah, fine, yes. That's a very good point. The lachem is you, plural. Yeah, but that doesn't suffice to give the clarity in the mechanics on how this is working, right? In other words, in the end, the Torah is saying for me personally, and now what we're saying is because the community is doing it, yeah, but it belongs to the community. It doesn't belong to me, right? So if it doesn't belong to me, in what manner is it lachem, right?
Right.
I mean, it's still a community thing versus an individual. So how does it come together, those two things, right? So the Rebbe says, we have another mitzvah that also says lachem. That you have, it has to be lachem. You know which mitzvah that is? It's coming up.
No.
Anybody know?
It's coming up.
Another mitzvah that is lachem. The mitzvah of lachem is the 4 species that we take on Sukkot. It says that is lachem. Tikhu lachem. Take for yourselves. From there we learn you need to own the lulav and esrog. B'yoyim harishon, on the first day, it has to be yours. Right? Let's see. Let's see the pasuk. It's in Leviticus. We just learned it. We're talking about lulav and esrog now. And you shall take for yourselves, again, the word lachem, right? On the first day, the fruit of the hadar tree, the palm date, fronds, and the branch of the braided tree, right? The hadassim and the willow of the brook, aravos, and you shall rejoice before God for the 7-day period. Right? So there was a prevailing custom throughout the centuries, not so much today, but even just before the Second World War in Europe, to have a lulav and esrog and to have a very nice one was very expensive and not easy to get to, period. It's actually a story of the Rebbe when he was in France during the war, and somehow he was able to go or to get, I don't know what, how, we don't know, to Calabria, because the Chabad custom is to take it from the island off Italy in Calabria, an esrog from there. He was able to procure one, literally. But anyways, well, you know what the custom was? You had one that belonged to the rabbi in the community, or belonged to the community. He was, took care of the community, and everybody would make the blessing and shake the lulav and esrog, one for the community. There's stories that are told, Baal Shem Tov stories and Chassidim of the Baal Shem Tov, who we traveled and they came to a town and the only lulav and esrog, and they, asked the person, please stay in town because if you go, we won't have the mitzvah. And he was on his way home. Many such stories, right? And what do we see over here? What do we see? That everybody fulfilled the mitzvah. It didn't belong to the individual. It belonged to one individual or to the community. And yet they fulfilled the mitzvah. So what's how does it work, this idea, right? That it's not yours, but yet it seemingly is yours enough that you're fulfilling the mitzvah. So the Rashbam says, our custom is for every community to make the blessing over one esrog, as every community member agrees to gift their portion of ownership in the esrog to the individual on condition that it's returned. Hear that? Everybody has a piece of the esrog. It's yours. Everybody agrees that they will gift that portion to that person who's now doing the mitzvah. So it becomes theirs. Right? That's the condition that everybody understands. Even if they don't explicitly stipulate as such, we consider it as if they did. After all, the entire community would certainly be of one mind to grant conditional ownership to each member so that they can make the blessing. So, our custom today, and it's still the custom, on the first day, if you're giving someone lulav and esrog that doesn't have, you say, I'm giving it to you on condition that it's yours, but you will return it. On condition that you will return it, it's yours now. Because it has to be yours completely. If someone makes a bracha on that day and it's not given to them that it's theirs, they don't fulfill the mitzvah properly. It has to be theirs. The verse says lachem. So it's mine. It's very easy. I could give it to you and say it's yours on condition you return it to me. So while you're doing it, it's yours totally. Now, if you didn't give it back, that might be a problem. You didn't fulfill the condition, then it was not yours. But, right there, I'm going to get it back, right? But here, it's a step further. It's a step further. It's one that is owned by the entire community. And the entire community has a portion in it. Everybody is more than happy to give up that portion than when it's your turn to make the blessing and to do the mitzvah. Right? More than happy, because they understand that's the only way you fulfill the mitzvah, that it becomes yours. So everybody has a piece in it, in other words.
Well,
Is that clear?
give it to me. I understand that once it's turned over to me, even though it may be temporarily, but while I have it, it's mine. But I don't give it back to you. I give it to him. That's
No.
so good. It's got to go back to you. And you.
I have to give it to him, right? Because the condition was it's yours when you have it, right? As long as you give it back to me, right?
Giving it back to you. Don't mean to be technical.
So, that's on an Indian, by the way, it's interesting that as we were kids, that's not called an Indian giver.
That giving it to me, that it has to be me to give it back to you. What about him? If I turn it over to him and he gives it back to you, it's still
Because you didn't fulfill your condition.
has to be me.
Hello.
Okay.
I made a condition. So for you to fulfill it, you have to fulfill your part, your condition, you have to give it back. So you give it to him, you didn't fulfill your condition. That means you didn't do the mitzvah. Do you follow? No, no, no. No, you see, you're just trying to you're trying to not be true to your word. Then you made you agreed to something, so you got to fulfill what you agreed to. If you don't fulfill it, then the lulav nesrog that was given to you were not yours.
So the fact that you get it back.
Means you
Now
fulfilled your
fulfilled-
you means you fulfill. It's a very simple thing. You fulfilled the condition that you got it in the first place, only based on that condition.
only-
So if you didn't fulfill the condition, you didn't fulfill your mitzvah either.
So the condition is not that you get it back, but rather that you get it back from me to whom you gave it to.
But I made the condition with you. I didn't make it with someone else. You didn't. It's no. Listen. I made a condition with you. You didn't fulfill the condition. The issue then becomes you didn't do the mitzvah. It's not about me getting it back. Even it's about you having a mitzvah. That's the issue over here. How do you have the mitzvah? It has to be yours. How is it yours? Only on condition. So you got to fulfill the condition. You don't fulfill the condition, then it was never yours. You didn't do the mitzvah. That's the point over here. That's all, but that's not about me getting it back. I'll get it back anyways. What's the difference? That's not the issue. The issue is about you having a mitzvah. You don't have a mitzvah then.
Well,
You have to give it back in order that you get your mitzvah. Then I'd have to give it to him on the same condition, and you have to give it back in order to get some mitzvah. That makes sense, right? Is
okay.
that clear? Hamid, we're clear with that? Yes.
Stay-
Only on the first, because only it says tikhu lachem, yikhu lachem. It says lachem b'yom harishon on the first day. The other days you don't have that. It doesn't have to be yours. Okay. The verse says first day.
You have your own, then.
Well, have your own. You have your own. We're not talking about that. You have your own. If everything's hunky dory. Anyways, the point is to bring out here the concept. That's our point. Is to bring out the concept, right? That. So we see that there, right? So. Yosef Kair, the prevalent custom today is in a situation where there aren't many esrogim available in the community purchases one communal esrog. The logic is, in as much as the community wishes to fulfill their obligation with this esrog, it's as if they have clearly stipulated each member conditionally grants their partial ownership to anyone who wishes to fulfill the mitzvah. Simple. Okay? Now, let's take that logic. The Rebbe takes that logic and now takes that and brings it where? Where do you think? To the Torah, to the Sefer Torah. Exactly. The same logic applies to the communal Sefer Torah. The community is commissioned to have a scribe to write for everyone. The intention that everyone has a portion in the Torah scroll. And the scribe is an agent for each one of the community doing on their behalf. Right? Is that good? Now you might counter on that though. Why? Because when I give you the lulav and esrog, you have something physical in your hand, and it's in that moment, it's yours. Afterwards, you relinquish it. Your being yours, right? Whether it's mine or the communal one, right? You relinquish for someone else. How's it work with the Torah scroll? When is it mine? In what way is it mine? Right? It's a little different. When is it mine? What is it, So first of all, we have to understand the difference between the two. The lulav and esrog is the whole point that it's mine in the moment to make a bracha and to shake it. That's all I need it for, to be mine. What do I need a Torah scroll to be mine? Is it that I have a physical thing in the moment to shake? No. Either to learn from it or that I have fulfilled the mitzvah of having a part of it, a portion in it, right? So therefore, every time the Torah scroll is taken up by the community, each member is granted their individual moment of ownership, in a sense. It's being used.
Sorry.
No. Tomorrow we're going to take out the Torah scroll. Tomorrow we're going to read from. Come tomorrow, you're going to get your ownership in the Torah, right? You're going to have your individual moment of ownership. So you're going to fulfill the commandment that way, especially if you're called up for an aliyah. You're called up, come tomorrow, we'll call you up for an aliyah. You'll have your ownership, right? You're making the blessing. It's a tangible way that you're fulfilling that you have written your Torah, because it was written on condition for people in the community that they have their portion. So there is the fact that I have the portion because at all times you have a portion of it, right? And that's actively at all times, as opposed to lulav and esrog. The point of a lulav and esrog is not that you have a lulav and esrog in your home and at all times you have a lulav and esrog. No, it's about making shaking it. That's the point of the Torah, is that you have it, learn from it, or have an aliyah from it, or you hear its reading on Shabbos. You heard from it, from its reading. You have a part in that. Is that clear? So then, with this, then we can understand what happened with Moshe Rabbeinu in the desert. He made a Torah scroll that was good for all of the people. Actually, even made 13, 12, one for each tribe. So each, leader of the tribe, that each tribe has their Torah scroll. They have their community that it was done on their behalf, and they're a part of that. Huh? Translated, but I don't know if it's a Torah. I don't know if it's a Torah scroll. Not clear about that. Translated on stone. I'm not very clear how that was. But yes, it was translated. Yes. Is that clear?
What if you contribute a letter or something? It's more yours or less or what?
All right. Thank you, Livsha. Segue into the next point. 30 days after my wife and I came to Montreal on Shlichus, 30 days, maybe it was 29 days. It was the Rebbe's birthday, Yud Aleph Nisan. We came Yud Beis Adar. And that night was Yud Beis. It was that following night. So literally 1 month after we came here to Montreal and Shlichus, my wife and I, the Rebbe's Yom Haledes, his birthday, the 11th of Nisan, Fabringen, and the Rebbe introduced a new campaign, a letter in the Torah scroll campaign, 1981, that every Jewish child should have a letter in the Torah. Any Jewish child on the bar and bas mitzvah. Practically, it meant that there was a sofer in Jerusalem who was writing a Torah scroll on behalf of all the children of the Jewish people. And for $1, you purchase your letter in the Torah, and you'll get a certificate sent to you from Israel for having your connection in the Torah. 6 months later, right before Rosh Hashanah, like now, 6 months later, the Rebbe came out with a similar campaign, but for men and women, that every man and woman should have a letter in the Torah. And if you recall, last year, exactly a year ago in Chabad Coach St. Luke, we made an event, if you recall. So many of you were there. And it was the 9th Sefer Torah that was being completed for all men and women. And we had that Torah scroll here that we celebrated. It was an amazing event, right? Huh?
To have the school here.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Right. That was a Sefer Torah Klali. And well, amazing. Why all of a sudden this idea? Why did the Rebbe introduce this idea? Right? What was it? So the Rebbe says, well, it's the last mitzvah before Mashiach, before of the Torah. We're on the final frontier of Mashiach's coming. So let's fulfill the last mitzvah in a more, glorified manner. Right? Let's fulfill that. And as it actually brought down in the liturgy of Shabbos and festival of Musaf prayer, we say, I have redeemed you at the end as in the beginning. What does that mean? This means that the future redemption will come by carrying out the final mitzvah to write a Torah scroll, as well as the first mitzvah to have children. So children, Torah scroll. Make a Torah scroll for the children. That will bring final redemption, right? This will bring the final chapter. It says, furthermore, in the book of Daniel, it says that written in the book, they will be protected. The Rebbe explained, by purchasing a letter in the Torah, you fulfill the prophecy by bringing protection to you before the times of Mashiach. So in this week's Sikha, the Rebbe writes, the mitzvah to write a Torah scroll is the conclusion of 613 mitzvahs. So when all Jews will have their own personal letter in the Torah scroll, we will speedily merit the conclusion of the exile, the redemption, in which every Jew will be liberated with the coming of Mashiach. Okay. So while technically speaking, we discharge our personal obligation by being part of a wonderful community Torah scroll, right? Which is this general Torah. So there is in your community that you have, right? That you have a part in, but then there is the general community of the entire Jewish people. With that, the Rebbe introduced for children specifically and for adults specifically, right? But what else? Why? What is unique about this particular mitzvah that it becomes the last, the one that is on the final frontier, that everybody should have a part in?
Kim said, unity.
Unity, exactly. It's the unity. That's a critical component. Let's just follow this thought. Let's continue finish the thought. Right, exactly. There are 304,000 rather, 805 letters in the Torah. If one has a Torah scroll and one letter is missing, it's an invalid Torah. We all have our letter in the Torah, and whoever till today doesn't, please make sure you purchase. I'm going to put up the I'll put up the link afterwards. So everybody needs to have their letter, because missing one letter of the Torah is invalid. Missing one Jew amongst the Jewish people, that is, the Jewish people are incomplete, because we are one united people. As the Rebbe says, every mitzvah of the Torah achieves unity among the Jewish people. Still, the campaign of the communal Torah scrolls achieves a superior form of unity, for it brings Jews together through the act of writing a Torah scroll and bequeathing a unique letter to each Jew, as we'll explain. But first, let's explore the idea that the Torah is what possesses the power to unite the Jewish people. When a Jew is told that he or she must unite with every other Jew, from the heads of the tribes to the wood hewers and the water drawers, this week's Torah portion, the beginning of the Torah portion, right? One cannot help but ask, How is this possible? The gap between the heads of the tribes and the wood hewers and the water drawers is quite extreme. So how is it possible to unite with both the head of the tribes and water hewers and the water drawers? They are polar opposites. The answer, the answer is that only the infinite Torah has the power to unite all Jewish people from the heads of the tribes and the water hewers and the water drawers, despite the vast distance between them. This helps us understand just how great is the unity achieved through a tangible action. There are many other practical mitzvahs that achieve the same result, but there's a unique quality to the unity achieved through every Jew purchasing a letter in the Torah scroll. For just as explained, the entire notion of unity among Jews is achieved only through the power of Torah. Torah has the power to bring us together, to reunite us, to bring one, to make us one. That is the power. And therefore, that we seek. Where did I put this?
Well, how about if, like, for instance, if one of the letters in the Torah something happened, then like it would affect that person's letter, right? Like that it would affect them also, like so.
Yeah.
Because that letter that they purchased, something happened and they have to fix it, then it would make that person feel better or something. So that it's fixed. Something like that, right?
So here we have my letter in the Unity Torah. Here's the link. Chabad.org. And there's for the children's Torah. Here is also a link. And everybody should have their letter in the Torah. Being united together as one. Sorry? No. It's first of all, it's I don't know, it's not every year. It started over 40 years ago, and we did the 9th, right? So that's one thing. Second, there's remember, there's, there's so many Torah letters that need to be, 304,000 letters. That's a lot. So, that's the power of Torah, that it can unite us. And that's what it means, kisvu lachem, write for yourself. So maybe that fits in with the lachem, why it's plural, right? Because in the writing that you all have a portion, we all have a portion in the Torah. We all have a portion in the communal Torah. We all have, right? Because it's written on the condition for the community. It's for the community. And then when you purchase it, you also have, even more so, a portion of the Torah. You have your own specific letter. It's your letter in the Torah, meaning you have your place amongst the Jewish people. You have your, you're a part of a collective whole, yet every letter has to be mukach vil, has to be surrounded by, without ink. If one letter touches another letter with ink, it's an invalid Torah scroll, right? Invalid. The spiritual idea behind that is that each letter represents a unique soul. And a unique soul is individual. An individual. You have to be surrounded by the whiteness of the parchment, meaning the infinite of Hashem, that you're surrounded, but at the same time, you're part of a Torah scroll, meaning part of every other Jew in one scroll, and the power of Torah that it brings together the fact that I maintain my individuality, but I'm part of a collective whole that I'm united in one with. As a result of that, this is the final mitzvah, right, on the final frontier to bring the final redemption of Mashiach now, right? So whoever doesn't have a letter, do so. I think everybody here probably does already.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
The link that you showed, is it gonna be where we can find it on Facebook?
Just go to Chabad.org.
About
One second. You know what? Hold on. Let me. You know, I'll put it in here in the chat.
Chabad.org, you see everything. Find it.
Oh, crackers.
Okay, I'm putting it into the chat.
Oh,
There it is.
in the chat.
Yeah. And if not, we'll send it to you some other way. We'll get it to you. Okay. All right. Someone had a hand up. Davida, did you have your hand up? Someone? No. All right. Any questions here? Go ahead.
If, let's say, every year, scroll writes a new Torah.
Scribe.
Scribe, right, it writes a new Torah. And you purchase or acquire many letters. Does that create a greater mitzvah to that person, or just the fact that you do it one time, the one letter, you fulfill?
You fulfilled it, you did it one time. Now, if someone else is writing a Torah to have the merit, to fulfill the mitzvah, you did it that one time. To have more merit, right? And because, excuse me, there's many more aspects to the mitzvah itself. We're speaking about the mitzvah of unity. We're speaking about the fulfillment of the mitzvah, right? But there are many more factors that if you gave to a Torah scroll, that you also gain. You gave tzedakah. You have more merit in doing more mitzvahs. So yeah, so they are. But to purchase to have a letter in the Torah, to fulfill the obligation that we're speaking about, then the one time is sufficient in that. Okay. Any other questions?
Doesn't preclude you or prevent you if a new Torah scroll.
That's what I just said. You get more merit. You gave tzedakah, that itself.
Yes, yeah.
Right, that itself.
I remember when I was 2 years ago, don't remember where I was, but the scribe, the Torah scroll was written, and I gave a donation to have a letter put in there for me.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I've done that too. Helen.
Trying to recall if they said, well, these are the letters that are left, or if, because they said, which letter did you want? And I can't remember if they said, you've got a choice of these 5, or if you had a choice of any one, like I seem to remember, I didn't have a choice of all the letters, is that correct? Is that possible? Could a lot of people, obviously a lot of people could do the same letter, at the same Torah scribe, so,
No, everybody has their letter. I mean, the letter Aleph appears many times in a Torah scroll, right? So there's many Alephs you could have, or many Mems you could have, right? So, I have done with a scribe that I've actually written the letter, right? I've actually written a letter. That's a very specific thing together with a scribe.
But I chose a letter, but the person behind me chose the same letter, and it's not an issue?
No, they wouldn't get the same letter.
Wouldn't get the same letter.
Well, maybe not at that point in the writing, if you're.
Different location in the.
Scribe is continuing to write, and that letter comes up again.
Is there a number?
Is there
I'm
what?
sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Is there a number you can call to give like
A
a number
number?
to?
No,
Yeah.
I'll send you the link. I'll send it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Do you need my
No, no, no,
email?
it's okay. No, no.
Oh no.
I have everything. Don't worry.
All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, you're speaking about maybe when the scribe is doing a specific letter. So then that's the merits. So maybe you could share that with others, but in the idea of having your own letter, it's your own letter in the Torah scroll, the general Torah scroll, right? When we're speaking about when the community is doing it, right, on the behalf of people in the community, then that's not a specific letter. That's, having ownership of the Torah scroll as a whole, if you will, right? The different components over here, right? There are different aspects to this that we're talking about. There's you follow the distinction. In other words, if you bought a letter in a Torah scroll, I'm not certain that would be in and of itself sufficient that you fulfill the mitzvah of having a part in the Torah. It could be that maybe, you know what, that's a good. You fulfill that. I mean, they're never saying you are fulfilling that mitzvah. That's one of the ways to fulfill it, right? Yes, young man.
What if someone else bought it on your behalf, like if you didn't have the money to buy like the letter and you like asked them to buy it on your behalf, then they're allowed to do that, right?
Of course. It's your ownership that you have. Ownership, right? If someone gave this as a gift to me, is it mine? Yes. They gave it to me as a gift, so it's mine. Okay, it's mine. We're talking about ownership. So someone gave this to me. Once they give it to me, it's mine. Is it right? Doesn't matter that it was gifted or I bought it. Whether I bought it or it was gifted to me, it's mine, right? So whether you bought it yourself or someone bought it for you, it's yours. Okay. All right, folks.
If there's like a Torah that hasn't been used like in the community, like and you purchase Torah from that Torah, and it's not being used like in any community, like that.
You still, because it's still, you have a part of it. You have a part of it,
It's not being.
even if it's not being used. Yeah. All right, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
God bless. Be well.
Have
Next
a
week,
good
next week, we're starting at 5:30 and we're going to 9:30. There's going to be 4 different classes, a symposium for Rosh Hashanah. We'll send out the flyer. You'll get all the information. Okay. Sorry,
5:30 in the morning.
Diane and anybody else that I first put up mistakenly that the class was at 7:30 and then I took it down and put it was for 6:30. I don't know how I made that mistake, but I did.